Hey everybody, it's Callie, and today I want to talk a little bit about dealing with OCD over the holidays. If you're watching this kind of around the time that it's been posted originally, then that means we are like this close to the holidays being in full swing. So for somebody like me, that's a huge bummer because I love all things Halloween and spooky, but it also means that Halloween is over. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like recently, as the years have gone on, it seems like the holiday season, whatever that might be, starts earlier and earlier. I feel like when we're watching TV or when we're in stores or any of the ads that we're seeing or the decorations that were being sold and being shown, it seems like all of the holiday stuff starts like back in June. So this has been going for a long time. If you love the holidays and this time of year and it's something that you're always really looking forward to, then that's great. But it can also be a really, really stressful and anxious time of year for people with OCD. I feel like I've noticed that a running theme in something that might trigger my OCD a lot of times is a change in my routine, or even like an anticipated change in my routine. So if I'm thinking something's gonna upset my routine, I'm like getting this anticipatory anxiety about it. And I feel like the holidays are full of things that might change our routine, right? There's a lot of things that we do during the holidays that we don't normally do, which on one hand is really nice, but on the other, it can bring a lot of anxiety. For example, we might find ourselves in crowded places that we might have a lot of triggers in. We might be spending time with family members that we don't see very often, which could be triggering, among other mixed emotions. We might be eating food that's maybe a little bit richer than we're used to. So even though it's like really delicious and we love it and all that good stuff, we're always a little bit uncomfortable. And I've noticed personally that when the weather starts to change, and this can happen when it gets colder or when it gets warmer, I feel like I always kind of feel a little bit under the weather. And that is something that I always see happen as my OCD starts to get worse. So I've noticed that there's some kind of link there. So I think when my system is like run down and I just don't feel well, I feel like since I'm already at the baseline not doing as well as I want to be doing health-wise, I feel like it's easier to be triggered by my OCD. And I know that this next part might sound a little bit weird, but I also know that somebody will probably relate to it because we've all had a lot of these same experiences and a lot of these same thoughts. But actually, one of the really triggering things for me personally about the holidays is the new year, which is kind of, I guess, counterintuitive because I know that a lot of people really look forward to saying goodbye to the past and things that happened, and they just want to start ringing in the new year. And I think a lot of people are able to meet the new year kind of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and excited and thinking about all the things they want to do and, you know, having goals and resolutions or whatever they're doing. But I think when I start to look at it through the lens of my OCD, I really start to think about the uncertainty in the future, which I've talked about is kind of like a thing for my OCD. I really struggle with thinking about the future because while other people are thinking about, oh, like, what do I want to do this year? What great things will I accomplish? Or who will I meet? Or XYZ. I'm kind of like, okay, is this the year that I'm finally going to lose touch with reality? Is this the year that I'm going to do something really awful? Like my OCD seems to be so intent on telling me is going to happen eventually. So maybe it's this year. So I kind of, for a long time now, I've noticed that I have this little bit of dread in the pit of my stomach right around the end of the year, right before we start a new year. So that starts pretty much as soon as we get into those like colder months where it's darker for longer. And it's just, I think, a lot of factors all working kind of against me. So what can we do about these triggers? What are some things that we can do to try and keep us on track? I think for me, like I said, since I have so much trouble with that upset in my routine, I think it's really important to make time for yourself and make time to follow a little bit of your routine every day. This might mean setting a little bit of time aside for yourself, even though things can be really crazy and we can have a lot of plans and we can have a lot going on. It might just mean taking some time to yourself, and it also could really mean making sure that you're leaving enough time to do your homework for your ERP, your exposure and response prevention, which is, it's hard and it's a commitment, but it's what's going to help you start to gain that momentum when you're looking to really manage your OCD. And I know that it's kind of easy to slack a little bit when we're feeling well and saying, oh, well, I'm feeling pretty good, and I don't have to focus on it so much anymore. But the thing is that if you've put a lot of work into it, you're probably feeling good because you put that work into it. So you don't want to really backslide and lose some of that progress just because you're busy, or just because you're feeling well, or just because, things are crazy. You really want to be able to keep up that momentum, because like I said, that's really what's going to help keep OCD from dominating your day, from dominating your time, or from spending all your time doing compulsions or obsessing over things. And it's also really important to be honest with yourself and be aware of how you feel. Like I said, even when things are crazy, if you're tired, sleep. If you're hungry, eat. If you're, feeling like you're a little bit overwhelmed, it's okay if you're at a gathering to just excuse yourself for a little while. Things happen and it's okay to do that. Alternatively, if you're finding yourself spending a lot of time alone during the holidays, make an effort to make plans with somebody, to see a friend, or to just be around people, because it's really not that good to stew in everything by yourself either. I think when you're facing OCD and you're trying to be mindful about your feelings and you're trying to do ERP and you're doing all these things that are difficult and take a lot of mental capacity to do a lot of that, I think it's really important to understand that it's about balance, and it's about allowing those feelings to be there, acknowledging them and saying, you know what, it's okay, whatever I feel is okay, I'm allowed to feel that way, but what am I going to do about it? Am I going to accept those feelings? Am I going to challenge them? Am I going to let them control my life? So you have a lot of choice here, and I feel like the holidays is not a time to forget that just because you're busy. If you would like to learn more about managing the obsessions and compulsions and everything that comes along with OCD, NoCD is a really good resource to start with. Not only can you talk to a specialist that can help you manage your OCD symptoms through ERP, but NoCD has done a really good job of building a community of people who know what it's like through lived experience to have OCD. You can get ahead of the stress of the holidays by going to nocd.com or treatmyocd.com today to learn some of those tools that are going to help you take the edge off that stress you might feel this time of year. And on that note, I'm going to get going, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.